Name a civilization. Anyone. Ancient Egypt. Beer for the pyramid crews. Vikings brewed honey mead. The Aztecs ate sacred mushrooms. Ancient China had cannabis and wine. Greek wine at every symposium. Roman soldiers were rationed wine daily. Every single one of them. Every culture that has ever existed. Without one exception. That is not a coincidence. That is biology. Because you did it too. This morning, be honest. How long after waking did you reach for caffeine? 10 minutes. Maybe 5. You were medicating your own brain before breakfast. And you are the newest member of a very old club. Coffee is a psychoactive drug. A mild one, legal, in a nice mug. But chemically, the door it opens is ancient. One scientist gave that club a name. Ronald Siegel, psychopharmacologist at UCLA. In 1989, he published one blunt idea. Across species, the same behavior kept appearing. The pattern was too consistent to be an accident. You have 3 basic drives. Everyone knows them. Hunger, thirst, sex. Siegel argued there is a 4th, the drive to change how you feel. He called it the 4th drive, as deep as hunger, as stubborn as thirst. 20 years of research backed him up. He watched animals choose the high over food. The urge does not wait to be taught. And here is the part that stings. It is not only us. Animals do it on purpose. Go to Siberia. Watch the reindeer. They hunt a specific mushroom. Fly agaric. Red cap, white spots. The one from every fairy tale. It is psychoactive. The reindeer know. They seek it out and get intoxicated. Reindeer chasing a high in the snow. Honestly, respect. And it is not just reindeer. Elephants seek out fermented fruit. Jaguars chew a hallucinogenic vine. Dolphins pass around a pufferfish. Waxwing birds get drunk on fermented berries. Bees keep coming back to nicotine flowers. Monkeys in the Caribbean steal tourist cocktails. Even fruit flies pick alcohol when stressed. The urge shows up everywhere in nature. So the question flips. The mystery is not why humans got into drugs. The mystery is why the whole animal kingdom did. Something in the wiring keeps pulling one way. To answer that, go back, way back, before humans were even human. Northern Spain, a cave called El Sidrón. Inside, the remains of Neanderthals. 50,000 years old. 50,000. In 2012, a team studied their teeth. Karen Hardy. Hardened plaque on the molars. Trapped in that plaque, plant chemistry, yarrow, and chamomile. Both bitter, both nearly useless as food. And here is the tell. Neanderthals had the bitter taste gene. They tasted the bitterness. They ate it anyway. Not for flavor, for an effect on the body. That individual had an abscess in the jaw. He was in pain, and he treated it. They knew which plant did what. 50,000 years before the first pharmacy. 50,000 years ago, a different species reached for medicine. The instinct to dose yourself is older than you are. Sound familiar? It should. That painkiller you took last Tuesday. Same reach, same brain, 50,000 years apart. Now move forward to the Neolithic. Europe, around 5,600 BC, farmers start growing one specific flower, the opium poppy, not for bread, not really for food. Orally Salavert dated the remains in 2020. These people planted a painkiller on purpose, 7,500 years ago. Its seeds turn up at site after site. It may be the only crop first tamed in Europe, farmed for its effect before the first city existed. The Iceman carried poppy too. By now, you see the pattern forming. The pattern is not local. It is global, across the ocean. South America, a cave shelter high in the Bolivian Andes. Archaeologists find a small leather bundle, a pouch stitched from 3 fox snouts. Melanie Miller ran the chemistry in 2019. The pouch dates to around the year 1000. Inside, a chemist's shopping list. DMT harmine, traces of cocaine. Those first 2 are the recipe for ayahuasca. And that recipe is genuinely clever. One plant carries the active molecule. Your gut destroys it before it works. So they added a second plant to block that. 2 plants. Neither works alone. Together they open the mind. The bundle also held a carved snuffing kit. Whoever owned it knew exactly what each plant did. He carried plants from forests hundreds of miles away. 1,000 years ago, someone worked that out. By trial, by error, by paying attention. Stop and sit with that for a second. Spain, Europe, the Andes, people who never met, oceans apart, all reaching for the same thing, a different state of mind. Which brings us to the real culprit. It was never really the plants. It was the thing the plants unlock. Blaming the plant misses the whole story. The lock was already sitting in your skull. Your brain is full of tiny locks, receptors, built to catch specific molecules. Here's the strange part. The locks came first, long before anyone found the plants. So why does your brain have a lock for cannabis? Because your brain makes its own version. A chemist named Raphael Mechoulam found it in 1992. He called it anandamide. The name comes from a word for bliss. Your body was already making a bliss molecule. The plant just happens to fit the same lock. That system runs quietly every single day. The plant just borrowed a key you already owned. Same story for opium. Your brain makes its own opioids, endorphins. The poppy copies a key you already carry. Opium is the third example. The poppy has been growing in the Mediterranean for at least 5,000 years. The Sumerians called it hul gil, the joy plant. Egyptian physicians prescribed it to children who wouldn't stop crying at night. Your brain produces its own opioids. They're called endorphins. Morphine copies their shape almost exactly. Same pattern. The lock came first, the plant found the key. 3 continents, 3 different plants, 3 identical locks inside one brain. None of them put there for the plant. All of them exploited by the plant. That's not coincidence, that's convergent chemistry. Let that land. The brain was built for this before the plants arrived. Humans did not invent the high. They discovered a door already inside them. And every animal carries a version of that door, which is why the reindeer knew. Here is why evolution built that door at all. The honest answer is we do not fully know, but there are strong guesses. The bliss system rewards rest and recovery. It dampens pain so you can keep moving. It bonds you to the people around the fire. Calm, connection, relief from pain. It rewards the long hunt with a wave of calm. The same reward ties a mother to her child. Evolution wired reward straight into survival. Plants that hijack that system feel like a shortcut to relief, to calm, to belonging, and a shortcut that strong is hard to walk past. You know this feeling too. That first sip of wine on a Friday. Shoulders drop. The weak loosens its grip. That is the same door, a softer version. Alcohol is a drug your ancestors would recognize instantly. Beer may be older than bread. Some think we grew grain to brew before we baked. Every ancient city had a drink of its own. The mug changed. The wiring did not. But relief is only half the story. The other half is stranger. Because some of these plants do more than soothe. They rewrite what a person sees. The walls breathe. Colors speak. Time bends. Now put yourself in a prehistoric mind. You have no word for chemistry. No concept of a receptor. You eat a plant, and the world dissolves. The vision felt more real than daily life. Voices arrive. Figures move at the edge of sight. You would not call that a drug. You would call it another world. You would call the figures spirits. And when you came back, you would tell everyone. You would build a ritual around the plant. You would guard it and pass it down. Priests became the keepers of the plant. This is where drugs and religion start to blur. And that is not a loose theory. There is hard evidence in the ground. Israel, a place called Tel Arad, a shrine from around 750 BC, the Holy of Holies, the sacred room. 2 altars stood at the entrance. For decades, nobody knew what was burned on them. In 2020, a team finally tested the residue. The big altar. Frankincense. No surprise. The small altar was cannabis. Real cannabis with real THC, mixed with dung so it would smolder and rise. Worshippers stood in that smoke. They breathed it in during the ritual. This was not incense for a pleasant smell. This was worship, engineered to alter the mind. The shrine sat in a fortress on Judah's border. The smoke filled a room the size of a closet. Someone carried that cannabis a very long way. The first hard proof of this in the kingdom of Judah. And Tel Arad is not alone. The same fingerprint keeps turning up. Ancient Greece had the mysteries of Eleusis. Initiates drank a secret potion and saw the divine. Some scholars think that potion was psychoactive. In India, ancient hymns praise a drink called soma, a drink that supposedly made mortals feel like gods. For 2,000 years, initiates kept the secret. Even Plato and Roman emperors went through it. Whatever it was, it changed people for life. Different lands, same suspicious pattern, a substance, a vision, a god on the other side. Here's the claim, and it is a big one. Some of humanity's oldest ideas about the sacred may have first arrived through an altered brain, not handed down from a mountain, discovered inside a human head. Now be careful here. This does not explain away anyone's faith. It is a claim about origins, not about truth, and plenty of scholars push back hard on it. The honest position is that we cannot be certain. The chemistry survives. The experience does not. We can test a 2,700-year-old altar. We cannot ask the person who stood in the smoke. So we hold 2 things at once: strong evidence and real humility. What we can say is simple. The drive is universal. The drive is ancient. It runs from a Neanderthal jaw to a mushroom in the snow to the smoke inside a temple. One continuous line. And that line does not stop in the past. It runs straight into your kitchen. Think about a normal day, your day, coffee to switch the brain on. sugar for a lift at 3 in the afternoon, tea in the afternoon, a glass to unwind, a drink to switch the brain off, 3 different doors, all in one ordinary day. You do this, I do this, everyone does. And we call it a normal Tuesday. Nicotine on a break, a painkiller for the ache. Look at your own kitchen shelf, one nudging the same ancient chemistry. The reindeer had its mushroom, the Neanderthal had its bitter herbs, the worshipper had the smoke. You have a paper cup with a lid, same drive, different props. So when people say drug use is a modern problem, the record disagrees, loudly. This is one of the oldest things we do, older than writing, older than farming, maybe older than our species itself. That should change how you see your own mourning, not with guilt, with recognition. You are not weak for wanting it. You are running very old code that kept your ancestors calm, code that pulled them toward each other, code you are still running right now. It is not a flaw in you. The wanting is not the failure. It is the oldest software you run. The question was never why they started. Every brain on earth was already built to want this. They just found the key first. You were handed the lock at birth. You inherited the lock. Every morning you turn the key without thinking, and you call it a coffee. You are not the exception. You are the rule. This is human, fully, anciently human. So let me ask you something, honestly. What is the one you reach for every single day and never once call a drug? Coffee, wine, sugar, something else. Tell me in the comments. Be specific. I read every single one.